Welcome back to another episode of Blessons. I am your host, Bree, and I just want to first and foremost take a moment to say thank you to everyone who tuned in to the first episode. I am overwhelmed by the outpouring of your love and support. It means the world to me, and I'm just so glad that you all have chosen to come along this journey with me. So, I am incredibly excited for today's episode because I have a special guest, and he is a powerful man of God who started his path to success at just the young age of 19 years old. He's built a thriving family-owned automotive empire, as I like to call it. He launched a trucking business and has become a real estate mogul. He is married to a beautiful, gorgeous, strong, and ambitious woman who also happens to be his best friend. And together they've created a wonderful life. He's resilient, unstoppable, wise, and compassionate. And yes, if you guessed, he is my husband. How did I do? How's that intro?
Real.
Mm-hmm. Well, babe, before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for all the love and support that you have shown me up until now to get this actually on the ground running. And I don't think any of this would have been possible without your love and support. And I don't think you understand how much it means to me when you support my little small ideas and help me actually bring them to life.
Yeah, no doubt. An investment in our future.
Oh, amen. Well, I can go on forever thanking you and telling you how much I love you, but I want to dive into today's topic.
Let's go for it.
So I actually wanted to share with you a couple of statistics that I found through research and a little bit of ChatGPT's help. Shout out ChatGPT. Did you know that infertility can place a significant stress on a marriage?
Did not know that, but I could understand it.
Yes, you do. We've been stressed the heck out with our journey.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, what was interesting though about the research that I did was that in more severe cases, right? So we're talking folks have gone through therapy, have tried all these resources. So that's what I'm talking about, more severe.
Mm-hmm.
About 10 to 30% of those marriages end in divorce, specifically of couples who have infertility.
Yeah.
And then other research suggested that with effective support, communication, and support systems, many couples obviously remain strong, resilient, despite the challenges of infertility.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about those statistics is that they highlight the considerable impact that infertility can have both on an individual and couple's journey, which are all unique in their own.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I know for us, prayer, seeking God, relying on our support system, consulting our medical team has been crucial in keeping us grounded through this very difficult season. So for today's episode, with all that being said, I would like you to walk us through your journey, right? I know I've shared a little bit on the first episode of my view of our fertility journey, but I want the viewers to be able to hear from a male's perspective, from your perspective,
a spouse perspective.
Yeah, how this has affected you all around, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and how you've discovered some blessings along the way.
Amen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how I want to do this is ask you a couple of questions, and I just want you to be transparent and honest in your responses, and we'll navigate the conversations as they go.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So for just an introduction, what were your first thoughts, feelings when you realized we were facing fertility challenges?
Confused,
Hmm.
right? Because
Confused about what?
in my family, right, as you're very aware of,
I know where you're going with this.
in my family, we've never experienced fertility issues, right?
Well, your mom
Well,
has.
like I said, I never got into depth with that with my mother, right?
Yeah.
So I never asked, hey, mom, how hard was it to have kids?
Right.
Or have you ever had miscarriages? We didn't know.
I know those are not
Things that yeah.
common conversations, right?
So when we found out our issues we're gonna have issues moving forward with it, again, a little bit of confusion, like with all the men in my family and all the people that I've talked to about being married and starting a family, whatever, it's like, okay, get it rolling, bang some kids out. You're still young. Do it while you're young.
Right. They make it sound so easy.
Yeah. So that's what I thought. All right, we gotta do our thing and have some babies, and stop at a certain number, and then continue with life. Make sure we don't break the bank doing so. So when we got the news, and like vague news, because this, how many times we've gone through these steps. The first vague news that we got, or that I received, was, okay, we're gonna have some issues. Now, how depth the issue wasn't properly explained to me, and with my naiveness at the moment, I was still young. My
Right.
naiveness in the moment, I just thought, I was like, we'll get through it. We're still young. Just keep doing our thing. And we'll just bang them out.
And for reference, when we first found out that we were going to have issues, this was a year into marriage.
Yeah.
So I'm give or take 23. You're give or take almost 26.
Yeah, 26.
So yeah, so we were very young. And to Jeffrey's point, in his mindset, he was like, all right, that's no big deal. We'll just keep trying. And
I didn't really understand what
right.
PCOS was.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, give her some medication, we'll be straight. We're very young. We're not, grandpas to have this issue. But again, it's my naiveness of it, my misunderstanding of it, and my immaturity of it. Right, I was young into this. We had just bought the house too, so we were like, we have other things to worry about anyway.
Right.
So we'll take care of
So
the house
having
first.
kids was like not our main concern.
Exactly. Let's get the house done exactly how we wanted to, and then go for the baby. When we bought the house, we started doing, immediately we started doing some repairs. So my mind was somewhere else and stuff. So yeah. So initially confusion, right? I didn't understand it. Feeling wise, I wasn't discouraged. I was just like,
Did you have any fears, like hearing the news at first? Like, were you
some concerns, right? Like fear, no, right? Because, and I am a godly man, so like in my mind, I gave myself to the Lord. We gave ourselves to the Lord, and God is
sustain us.
How wrong this may sound. He's supposed to take care of us.
Yeah, it's real.
So I had my faith. So I was like, scared, no, just a little, speed bump, right? I was like, all right. So it's just gonna require a little bit more work. That's all. And then for 6 years after that, we, did our thing, and nothing was happening, and then it started getting a little concerning, right? Then I started getting more discouraged and more worried about, could it be me?
Yeah.
Is it a me problem? Maybe not necessarily you. As a man, you don't want to think that way, but how my mind works is I go through multiple scenarios, right? Multiple outcomes of what could be happening, and as for the 6 years that we were trying and just living life and doing our thing, whenever I had a little bit of too much cognac, you would see that something was bothering me.
Yeah.
Right, I would express it emotionally and stuff like that, and I guess we were struggling with even our own relationship at that point because we were just so young into it, that that bridge of communication wasn't properly established just yet.
Yeah.
And you would express that it shouldn't take cognac to know what's really going on with me.
Very true.
Right. So that, in hindsight, I was somewhat thankful. Now that we're here, I'm somewhat thankful that we didn't kind of jump into it, because
I agree.
we would have had our own issues on top of
100%.
kids,
Yeah.
which just makes us more disconnected. And not that I'm a parent or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
from what I've heard and people say is that you kind of forget about your spouse because
Yeah.
your sole focus is your kid
Mm-hmm.
and make sure your kid's alive and fed.
Mm-hmm.
That is a mission in itself. Besides the finances, besides all that other stuff,
Yeah.
I think would have put a bigger strain on our relationship
Mm-hmm.
on top of the stuff that we're already dealing with. So
I'm so glad you said that because in the first episode I talked about what I consider what our blessing was,
mm-hmm.
right? The hidden blessings within the toughest lessons. And I mentioned how I really appreciate that this kind of waiting season that we've been in has not been for no reason.
Yeah, not for
Like
us.
it
Yeah,
has, I feel like our relationship is so much stronger. We're so much more connected, so much more aligned because it's inevitably forced us to communicate how
mm-hmm.
we're feeling, our
Mm-hmm.
frustrations, our confusions, our anger, communicated in a safe space for both of us, right?
Absolutely.
And to hear each other without feeling like one of us has to fix the other, but like genuinely understand the pain
Mm-hmm.
and just provide support for one another. And I think over the years, we have done a great job at just becoming each other's greatest support system. And
Absolutely.
again, I know I said in the beginning, but I don't think I could have gotten this far without you and without your support and encouragement because it's been a journey, bro. It's been a rough journey, especially with me. Ooh, sorry, getting used to the mic. But especially with me, like my emotions were like a roller coaster. And in moments I would feel bad for you and feel like, dang, this man done marry a bipolar crazy chick. Because it just, dude, it messes with your head. It messes with your emotions and you feel like you're doing everything humanly possible to create a life and realizing that nothing's working out. And unfortunately, I think even for me early on in our journey, I didn't know how to communicate my frustration, so I would have explosive reactions.
Yeah.
And it took you like telling me like, babe, you are not alone. Like you're not alone. I'm not attacking you when I'm asking you certain questions or when I don't understand things. Like just help me understand where you're at so I can meet you there. And I think at first I felt like I was alone and I almost felt shameful and embarrassed because this is my body.
Yeah.
Or at least at the moment I thought it was just me. Like I was the only one that was having problems. And I was scared.
Yeah.
And I mean, babe, if I'm being honest too, going back to the statistics, I wonder if, other women felt like me too. And I know you've never done this, but like, what if my fertility issue ends up making you want to step out
Mm-hmm.
or end the marriage because I can't give you a kid? Like
Mm-hmm.
all those fears and scenarios started to come up to the surface for me. And I think instead of communicating them to you, I just kept trying to shove them under the ground and they just kept bottling up to almost similar to you, where it would have to take you to drink cognac or to get super blasted for you to be able to express yourself. And that's when I realized, okay, this is not healthy. Like we genuinely need to learn how to communicate to move forward together on the same page, not one person ahead of the other, but us moving together as a team.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm openly talk about therapy and my journey with therapy. I know I mentioned it earlier in the first episode, but I wonder with this journey, how has it affected you emotionally? And did you find that the short-lived season that we went through therapy together, did you find that that was helpful for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 Definitely. I mean, obviously we had our problems.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think like a couple months of therapy that we did have.
It was helpful.
I'm a quick learner. Okay, first of all,
Yeah.
I'm a good learner, so it did help us. I mean, it did kind of make me understand getting my PhD on Brianna, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So because I was worried, I was more on making sure Brianna's okay, financially, making sure Brianna's okay, materialistically, make sure Brianna didn't need anything when she had to go buy something, because I lived that, right? That was my life. My life was, uh, in my mom's case, was like, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this. I don't have enough for this. I don't have enough for this. I don't have enough for this. So I got programmed into just making sure you
and you
didn't
never
need.
wanted me to feel that way.
Yeah, just making sure not feel. And then I only got my associates on Brianna, in a
That's a good way
sense,
to
right?
put it.
But yeah, no, therapy definitely helped us. I mean, it taught me how to listen, right? I had to
Listen
listen
to
understand, right? It taught me to yeah, because few that watch this video, or the people that follow you, know me obviously, and know how I am. How everything I make a joke of,
Right.
and sometimes it's also my defense mechanism where I just don't understand it, so I'll just make fun of it, right? Or I'll make a joke of it. And it's just how I am, because I make light of a moment that I'm in the dark, right? So for you, in that particular moment, whatever it may be, you may have felt like I was making fun of you, or making fun of your issues or your feelings, which I wasn't. I didn't understand. So because I didn't understand, I'm just gonna make a big joke, just kind of let's diffuse the situation, because I'm losing the conversation. I'm losing the argument. I'm losing you. We're no longer talking about A and B. We're in X, Y, and W. Right. So, that I found out was not healthy as well. So therapy kind of, like, wake up, like,
Reframed your thought process.
Don't make everything a joke. You don't want to make fun of Brianna. You want to just understand and digest. So it helped us. I mean, it did help us communicate a little bit better. It helped us build the bridge of communication. And it's a strong bridge right now. I feel like we're definitely good at where we want to be. That's why when now that we're attempting this journey, 100% invested in it, right? Like, not like before, where I was like a foot in, foot out. Not in the sense of not having kids, just in, like, just my mind wasn't there. I wasn't thinking of issues. I wasn't thinking of having problems. I wasn't thinking of PCOS. I wasn't thinking if I was the problem, like. But with years that had passed, those thoughts were there, right? So now that we're kind of going all in this time, I'm a little bit more mature about it, and I'm a little bit more receptive of it, and ready, in a sense, to either get bad news or hear good news. And
we're gonna believe in good news.
Obviously. Well, I mean, bad news is like just the robots that we have been experiencing lately. And then the good news is obviously when we have a little kid running around.
So let me ask you. Oftentimes during a fertility journey, a lot of the attention and focus is usually put on the woman. And not that, there's not concerns for the man, right, in this relationship, but it's often focused on the physical health, the well-being of the mom or the future mom, so that, she can start to get ready to create a home for their future kid, right? And it had me thinking, especially with this past month of us having to go back and forth to the fertility clinic, it made me realize that a lot of attention is not put on the man. And it made me want to be a little bit more intentional with asking, like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? What's on your mind? Are you scared about anything? Are you like I've been holding myself accountable to make sure I'm doing that with you.
Yeah.
So we also recently found out that it's not just me.
Oh yeah.
With the issues in our fertility journey. We also found out that you play a role in it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. There's two questions from that. How did you feel finding out that now you also play a role in some of our challenges? How did that make you feel as a man? And emotionally and mentally, how did that impact you?
I mean, it definitely answered that fear, right? My fear was answered. Obviously, I am also an issue with this issue.
The third
So yeah. I mean, it was just confirmed, right? I was like, I thought maybe, but this time I was like, all right, so it's not just my wife. So how did it affect me? A little bit discouraged, right? I mean, it's not all bad news.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. But it's a little discouraged. Maybe I should take more vitamins. Maybe I shouldn't drink so much cognac. Maybe I shouldn't drink so much sugary stuff. Maybe I should focus on my weight and my health, which I should be regardless. But you know, I'm still young. I'm a young boy. I'm a young man.
Right.
I might be fluffy, but there's some muscle under this fluff, right? Like I go to the gym every day. I do what I gotta do every day. So it wasn't comprehensible, right? Like I just couldn't digest it because I've never seen my dad have this issue, right? But then again, I do. In hindsight, when you sit back, in the moment, yeah, like that's what I thought. Oh my dad, this issue. What's going on with me? What's so different about me? What the hell did I do wrong? What am I drinking or consuming that's making me do this or be like this? But when I'm allowed to sit back and kind of get, because your mind can run crazy scenarios in your head, right? Your mind can make you think so many different things. But when I was able to sit back down and kind of like digest the results or whatever, I was able to calm down, right? Because I was a little upset with myself, right? I was a little.
Why were you upset with yourself?
But just what is it that is, like I said, what is it that I'm not doing that's giving me this issue, right? So what is it that I'm doing that is it the stress, right? Then I started thinking about my job. Is it the stress? Is it the amount of the businesses that I run? Is it the stress of the houses? Is it the stress of this house? Is it the stress of people's problems that I make it my problems? Obviously, that's my job. My profession is I'm a professional problem solver, right? So because I'm so focused on solving that problem, is it causing problems with me? Because what is it?
And too, like another way to think about it, it's like you're a professional problem solver, like you said, but now you can't solve this problem.
I was just trying to get that. Now I've come on to say like I didn't take care of myself enough to not have this problem, right? Como me descuidé.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Like I completely
you didn't take care of yourself.
I let myself go. Is it the weight? Is it what I'm eating? Maybe I shouldn't eat Chinese food every Friday or whatever times I was eating it. Should I slow down and not allow work to come to the house? Because now even when I'm home, I'm stressed. So all those thoughts came to my head. Right. So like I said, a little discouraged. Right. Now emotion, right? That was emotional, right? What was the second
question? So like, how did that also make you feel emotional? The reason why I asked you this, right, is because I was doing some research on how men who had similar issues like you, how it's affected them, and some studies show that men feel emasculated.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, they're essentially telling you that your juice ain't strong enough.
Yeah.
And it's disformed, and you can't. Essentially, you're also playing a role in creating your child.
Yeah.
Naturally, I should say, right? Like, obviously, going back to what Dr. Ali said to us, naturally, we only have a 5% chance of conceiving.
Yeah.
But there are other options like IUI and IVF where they could still use your collection to, do whatever they have to do in the lab to create our baby. But I know for me, right, like my issue was that I want to conceive naturally. I don't want to have to go through IUI and IVF. And so I know I struggle similarly with like, why isn't my body working the way that it's supposed to? And I feel like my body betrayed me because, no offense, babe, I was actually taking care of myself. And I don't mean that harshly. I genuinely was trying to take care of myself. I mean, I even had freaking weight loss surgery thinking that I've heard so many women that say after they lose all that weight, their fertility increases.
Yeah.
And hey, where you're out from surgery and ain't nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I can totally understand the feeling of disappointment within yourself of like, why isn't my body working the way that it's naturally supposed to?
Mm-hmm.
So to go back to the second question, how has that affected you emotionally or even mentally?
Like I said, mentally, at first, like I said, I felt a little discouraged, but um, now I'm just ready to do what needs to be done. Right. So yes, discouraged. Yes, demasculated. No, no, because it's just life, right? But like I said, discouraged at first, but now I'm prepared. I'm prepared to put in the work. I'm prepared to take care of myself, to make sure I, even when we have kids, to be here a little bit longer, be able to do things with my kids. So prepared is my current mindset now. And emotionally, of course, emotionally, I was sad. Right, I was sad that I am not able enough with just myself to be able to push through that barrier with your issues. So emotionally, I was a little sad. But now again, I'm
feel better.
I was able to sit down, digest it, and understand it, and
Or hopeful.
A little bit hopeful. Yeah, a little bit more hopeful, and I'm just prepared.
Yeah.
All right, my emotion is hungry. I'm a hungry person, so I'm hungry to get this done.
Yeah.
All right, and very confident on that we will get it done.
It's funny. Now that we kind of jumped over the hurdle after like the mass scare and surgery.
Yeah.
I can see you now responding similarly as if you had a car in the shop that you couldn't figure out and like you have to step away from it to like get your mind in order, do whatever research, and then go back to it to see if you can solve the problem. And like that drive and ambition that usually you would target to fix that problem, I can see you now trying to transfer that into this scenario. Do you agree with that? Or
Yeah, in ways.
so you bought something up earlier as you were talking about, your emotional journey, about how stress has impacted you during this journey, and some of it has been work related. And I know I think it was our second appointment. Do you remember when we were driving back home and I just had like a freaking meltdown and I'm crying in the car because I was starting to realize like this is starting to take a lot more of a toll on me than I kind of expected, and a lot more of a commitment now since we have to be seen by the doctor. Well, especially me, I have to go to the doctor's office in a very small specific window of my cycles to check my hormones, do a lot of blood work, all those things. And I think I remember telling you that I felt overwhelmed because I felt like I had to choose between building a family and building my career. And I know it sounded like, looking back, I don't know why I thought I had to choose between one or the other. And it made me feel like I can't win at everything, and I'm either doing well in one area of my life or I'm failing in another area. And it felt like one of those moments like I can't have a child. Now I got to start working to have a child. My career's picking up. What if I get pregnant? Now I was spiraling. So I'm curious, from your perspective, you've worked so hard to build your business to the stature that it's at now, right? And I know you said like you stress out with work sometimes and all that, but because you're the head of your business, right? How do you feel, or do you feel like you have a similar like sentiment of having to choose between building a family and building your business?
No.
See? Like, I feel like that's not something that men naturally deal with because naturally y'all are providers. So,
well, the reason why I say no.
Okay, I jumped to
because the reason why I build my business is so my family could be okay. So if
right.
Thankfully my business is thriving, but my family comes first. And if it requires work to start my family, then that is my job now.
Yeah.
So my work, thankfully my work will always be there.
And I agree with that, right? I think my fear is, and you know this, I always tell you this, right? My fear is I always feel like I'm behind. Like I'm behind schedule. I'm already behind like the majority of the population.
Mhm.
And so it's a yes and, right? Like yes, I am so excited to now start building our family. And yes, our family will come first no matter what. And I'm scared that while we're building our family, my career kind of has to be put on hold so that I'm prioritizing my well-being, the baby's well-being, your well-being. And it scares me that's going to further delay me from where I want to be. And I sometimes I struggle trying to explain that to you because like you said, like that's not a concern to you because you've already established yourself to a certain stature in your business, and I feel like now I'm starting to get there and now I have to take a pause, if that makes sense.
I think your hungry mentality, because you are hungry, man.
I
You're a
am.
hungry young lady,
I want to be
woman.
rich. I
Well, this is
do. Not even that, but I want to. I want to use my platform. I want to be
so
influential. I want to be
so
a businesswoman.
so like you said, like you're a hungry young woman, right? You're hungry, you want to be successful,
Yeah.
you want your career to take off, and amen to you for that, right? But let's say tomorrow, God forbid, let's say
Mhm.
tomorrow, you break your foot or you break your leg, and you can't go to work,
Yeah.
right? And or you hurt your hand, you can't type, or whatever
Yeah.
your job necessity requires, right? You think your job would wait for you? Right? They'll find someone who is capable. It's like my field. If I'm handy at my job, right? My hands are cut up, as you can see. If I break my arm, I can't work,
Mhm.
right?
Business
Business
continues.
continues.
I know that's so
People,
hard.
I'm just using my perspective, right? People will find other mechanics,
Yeah.
right? People will find other shops to do the same job.
Yeah.
Prices push people
You're
away,
right. You're
right?
right.
Say you become this person you want to be in your career,
Mhm.
6 figures, whatever your number is in your head, right? 6 figures, whatever, whatever. Now there's a younger kid, younger than you, coming into the same business. Your business looks at an opportunity of we're paying Brianna X, Y, and Z. We could get the same job out of Joe Schmo over here for a fraction of the price.
Mhm.
Let's turn my name is Brianna and go for Joe Schmo,
Yeah.
right? Just like that.
I know you're
And now,
replaceable.
and now you committed your years, your youth, your mind for a job that doesn't really care. So
Yeah.
that being said,
That's a great point,
yeah,
babe.
that being said, I feel
Which
like
is so I'm so sorry. Which is so ironic because I work in HR. I
yeah,
know this.
yeah,
I know this. People are replaceable.
yeah.
If God forbid, and I saw this in my last role, someone passed away, their position was posted the next
Next day,
week.
next week.
I
Yeah,
mean, it felt
I
like the
remember.
next day, but
Yeah, I
literally
remember.
the next week. And
And
yeah, so
don't they didn't even allow the body. I
yeah, so
remember.
I mean, you make a total valid point, and I think that's what I need to.
Remember that your career,
Yeah.
your legacy should be your family.
Amen. No, I
Mm-hmm.
believe that. I believe that. Like even we have been working
Well,
towards.
I'm talking in the heat of the moment of what we spoke about in that car,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
I heard you. Like I was hearing my wife, and I was like,
I know, where was this coming from? I
"Where I've
know.
never, you know what I mean?"
I
Like,
know.
so you were kind of putting your
It
family
was just
second.
all hitting. I
Yeah,
know.
you were kind of putting your family second, and that's how I felt in the moment. That's why
Dang.
I was able to
I'm
talk to you
sorry,
and kind of
man.
bring you. No, but we were able to talk. We
No,
were
I
able to talk
know.
about it. But I and that here and I had to let you kind of
I know, man.
go through your thing, right? Because
Oh
you
man.
can't talk to Brie when she's in her moment.
Shut up.
But yeah, I let you go through your thing, and to me in the moment, it felt like you're putting your family, that's your legacy, that's our legacy. You know what I'm saying? That's our family. Why did we get married? And in
Yeah.
my head, I'm like, why did we get married? Why did we buy a house?
And which is
Why do
weird.
we have another room? Why do we? That like
Which is weird because that's not what I was trying to say. I think what I was trying to say is that like for women, we're always put in like a weird predicament where we need to prioritize family first versus our career. And it's for men, I don't think that's, and maybe I'm generalizing this and maybe I'm being sexist and I apologize in advance, but I don't feel like that's a concern for y'all because you don't have to work as hard as we do
well,
to establish yourself.
Well, you say that,
professionally.
Right? You say that.
But you know what? I know where you're going because I know you've had your own issues.
No, it's a good topic, right? Because we can't use me because of my particular scenario, my particular position in my job. But let's say an average couple, right? Guy who works at a company, woman that works at a company. Both are employees. Yes, yes, women do have to take a bigger step down to their career, slow down to their career, because they have to raise the kid, you have to feed the kid, and like they have to do mommy duties as dad is supposed to do their daddy duties. But women take the bigger role.
Right.
But that happening, the guy then takes up the slack that the woman
or he helping. Should, right?
As he should,
yeah.
As he should,
right?
And I think a lot of times, the men are also not. I want to say appreciated, but not acknowledged for that extra they're taking up.
That's a great
that extra
point.
Hours that they're working.
Yeah.
Some guys may do Uber at night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The baby's still small. He's not going to know that I'm not around.
Right.
I could work a little bit more, so my wife can stay home. And that's the disconnect between couples where, in my thought, and again, this is my thought, I could be wrong, but that's the disconnect from couples where the wife be like, well, you're never home. You're never here to help me. I'm doing all this by myself. And then the guy just sit back like, dang, like I just did 15 hours with work. Like, and that's the argument. You're ungrateful, and that disconnect, right? That bridge of communication is gone, and then that's the other issues that having kids bring into a relationship because you start losing yourself in the relationship. You start losing your spouse.
It's like what Pastor preached about today, like the little foxes.
The little foxes,
exactly. And now it starts to build resentment. And
then you're but she's also the mother of your child that just gave birth, which is not easy.
Yeah.
That's a hurdle. That's a year's worth of gym right there. Think about that. This woman, who obviously you too as well, brought a life into this world, spread your seed. You're not gonna sit there and be like, "You ungrateful," this and that. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing for a man to do. But sometimes men are pushed to that moment because women who freshly have kids, who just gave birth, their emotions are all over the place, and they'll say things that are not meant to be said. They'll say things to their spouse that, the knife, and then twist it 15 times, make sure the wound never closes, and then that's there for 5 years, and then the kid's about to move away, or the kid's about to go to school, and then now everything comes out.
Right.
So resentment. And then that's where men have a tendency to venture off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think, to your point, kind of circling back, I'm sorry, y'all, because I drifted us off. But I think going back to that car ride, one of the things that I appreciate that you do for me all the time is to bring me back to present. Because I tend to fear and stress so much about the future and what life is going to look like for us. And I'm already anticipating the hurdles and the struggles and the arguments. And so I try, me being type A anal personality, I try to plan for the future, plan for failure so that it doesn't hit me so hard. And I think you tend to bring me back and remind me, like, we're not there yet. And when we get there, we will figure it out. We'll work together to, overcome whatever it is that we need to overcome. But let's focus on where we're at right now and kind of take baby steps together. So to sum up this conversation about like having to navigate like building a family and then choosing a career, I think when you have the right support, but also when your priorities are aligned and you realize, for me, it was also like I appreciate you allowing me to be raw and transparent in how I feel. That's extremely important, right, for women going through this journey. But it also checked my heart. Like, where's my heart in this journey, and what's more important? Is it building my career? Is it building this name for myself, or is it building a family?
Yeah.
And actually saying those words out loud showed me like where my mind and where my heart was that I didn't realize, and forced me to realign. Yeah. And now I'm kind of at the point where it's like, listen, regardless of what happens, once we start this journey very soon, my priority is that. And making sure that I'm healthy, you're healthy, and that we build a healthy baby.
Healthy family.
A healthy family, and everything else is secondary.
Absolutely.
Because for me, similarly to how you're in the beginning of our journey, like your focus was more on making sure that I didn't need anything, right? Like making sure I was financially stable, materialistically stable. I think for me too, as a fear, right, of coming from a single parent household and seeing mommy always struggle financially, I also was afraid that, like, okay, once we do have the baby, like that means I'm not going to be able to work for a long time. So, like, let me start to stack up my monies now so that, we have a safe cushion. That's kind of where my mind was going. But again, if we truly believe that God is a supplier and that he meets all of our needs, like, I can't allow those fears to take over my mind and be afraid that as God is blessing us with exactly what we've been praying for, he's also going to follow through and supply all of our needs, right?
Absolutely.
He doesn't take away, he multiplies, he adds, right?
Amen.
And I think I had to like rephrase my mindset from that.
But it's a good mindset, right? It's a good thought. It's a good question to go through because again, not everyone is in the position that we are in.
No.
Right? There's people that have kids that are not that well off, and
that's a struggle of
just
their own
struggling on
that they
their
have to
own.
overcome,
But it
right?
is, and they hold off on having kids because of that nature itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a good thought. It's a good thought.
So I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you, how has our fertility journey affected your spiritual walk? There's a specific question. So we know that prayer and seeking God's guidance has been a big part of our coping. But how has your faith been either challenged or strengthened through this process? Hey, y'all, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Blessons. This episode was so special that we did not want to rush through it. So we broke it up into two parts. So what you just saw was part number 1, and part 2 is coming soon. So stay tuned. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like, and share this YouTube channel. Thank you so much. God bless you. And until next time.